Congaree is also somewhere where you can go and see these synchronous fireflies. And they are so impressive. I mean, it's almost hard to describe how amazing it is. Well, it is hard. I can't put it into words. How amazing it is to see this. This is the Exploring the National Parks podcast with Dirt in My Shoes. My name is Ash, and I'm a former park ranger and the founder of Dirt in My Shoes. I think that the parks are best seen from the trail, and I'm here to make national park trip planning easy.
And I'm John. I carry the kids on the trails, I tell stories, and notice all the things that Ash doesn't care about much, like flowers.
Join us as we show you around America's spectacular national parks.
We're sharing our favorite places, fun facts, adventures, and misadventures.
And we'll even throw in a little trip planning.
Let's start exploring. I don't necessarily have phobias that would have kept me from exploring this park, but I have near phobias that would have kept me from exploring this park.
It has kept us from exploring this park for a long time.
Yes, exactly. I, growing up, was always really afraid of spiders. And it wasn't until I married Ash that
Who is more afraid of spiders.
that I somewhat overcame that fear.
He had to step up and be the man.
I did. And you know what? I feel great about how far I've come. Because now I can take care of a spider, and I've found two useful things. Going slow does not help at all. It just gives you a chance to think about it more. And number two is I found the perfect spider weapon. It's a toilet brush, because it's like a mace, like the Witch King uses in Lord of the Rings. But so you hit the spider with it, and then the spider's body kind of sticks to all of the little spikes.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't get to move anywhere. And then you can just plop it in the toilet and flush it down.
And then you have to disinfect every surface that you flung the toilet brush onto, trying to get said spider. So
Right. But usually it's only one, because I'm pretty fast and I'm pretty accurate.
So imagine our surprise when we actually fell in love with Congaree National Park.
We did.
It has a lot of spiders.
It does.
It also has a lot of snakes.
Yep.
And those are two of my least favorite things in the world. It also has a lot of mosquitoes.
Yes.
So on the bug side, pretty heavy bugs, pretty heavy creatures, creepy crawlies, all of that. But I loved it. I couldn't believe how much I loved it.
It was really fun, and our experience was way better than I anticipated.
Yeah. So today we are exploring Congaree National Park in South Carolina. This is a small park. This is one of the least visited national parks in the country, which honestly I don't understand, because it's right in the middle of a bunch of population centers. Like, it's not in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it kind of is, but
Yeah.
you know, you're only 30 minutes outside of Columbia, South Carolina, which is a
Exactly.
good-sized city.
Yeah.
And then you're in the east, and so there's big cities everywhere. You're
Right.
just within an hour or two. Like, we went to Charleston on this same trip. It wasn't that far from Charleston.
Nope.
So I don't know why this park doesn't see more visitation, because it's in the middle of everything. But I think it's the spiders and snakes.
I think it has a reputation.
Yeah.
And I think that snakes and spiders are a major deterrent for people. And those are some of the most interesting creatures, basically, that own this place.
So we're here today to talk you into visiting this park. That's our goal, because we put off this trip for a while. We finally went there this year.
For years.
Yeah, it really was. It really was a few years. More than a few years. But we finally made it. We made the time to come out here. We spent a few days here. It's not a big park. There's not a ton to do. So you really don't need a lot of time. But it's absolutely worth the time.
Yeah.
And we were both shocked.
It's such a unique park that provides such a unique experience that you really can't get other places.
And I will preface this episode by saying you're for sure going to want to listen to the fun facts episode for Congaree because I think knowing what you're looking at and understanding why this area is protected and why it's so special, which is something we'll go much further into in the fun facts episode, is going to make it so much cooler to you when you go.
Right.
So we're going to talk about the things to do and kind of move you through the park today. But that fun facts episode is going to be what's going to really ignite that uniqueness and that, why is this place special? Why is it protected? What's so cool about it? That's going to be the fun facts episode. So make sure you listen to both because there's a lot I want to say in this one.
Yeah.
Regarding stuff like that, but it's like we're going to save a lot of that for the fun facts.
Exactly.
So we mentioned that Congaree National Park is in South Carolina. It's just outside of Columbia, so that's where you stay. There's no in-park lodging unless you want to camp, which hard pass for me. No thanks. But some people do that. So I was very happy in my nice little Airbnb in Columbia.
Yes.
And just driving into the park every day.
It was nice. We got to appreciate the wildlife at arm's length.
Yes. So yeah, we stayed in Columbia. We tried a bunch of restaurants. We kind of got to know the city. I actually didn't like a lot of the restaurants that were kind of more top rated that we tried. Yeah. But the one that I did not think was overrated was Mr. Friendly.
It was really good.
That place was really good. The food came out kind of slow. I think it's pretty busy, I think, all the time.
Yeah.
But holy cow, I got the shrimp and grits and it was the best shrimp and grits I've ever had.
I actually stole some of her shrimp and grits.
He was jealous of my shrimp and grits.
Yeah. My meal was not as memorable as hers.
It was good, though. Everything on the table was really good.
Yeah. And we tried shrimp and grits in other places, too. But Mr. Friendly's was the best.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
So that's our little side note about Columbia here. But then from Columbia, the closest area of Congaree that you're going to hit that has anything of note is actually the main area of Congaree. That's where you're going to want to go. It's
kind of funny when you look at the map, there aren't a whole lot of major access points for traditional dirt in my shoes activities of hiking.
Yeah. So actually, since we came in from Charleston, we came in on the 601, which is the east side of Congaree. And there are a couple little spots there where you can stop. And I will say, it felt a little creepy. Nothing had very good signage. One of the parking lots we pulled in and there was a junk car.
People had turned it into a dumping ground.
Yeah. I was I'm pretty sure there are probably homeless people somewhere around here. It kind of looked like it.
Yeah.
So
it was not the best first impression.
Yeah, that was our
the park.
First impression of Congaree. So if you look at the map, you can see there's on the map on that side, there's the Fork Swamp Trail and the Bates Ferry Trail. And you also have access to the Congaree River from this side. So there's a lot of people going in and out of the river right there so that they could fish.
Yeah.
And, enjoy the river.
People were getting some pretty good stuff, it looked like.
That was a busy area, the busiest on that side, actually. Yeah. So, but I actually liked the Fork Swamp Trail. I thought that was nice because it was a good introduction into what Congaree is all about, which is this is a swamp. It's a floodplain, more accurately, but they will refer to it as a swamp as well.
Right.
But so you have the trail through the trees. You get to see the beautiful cypress trees. You get to go through that area, and then it brings you to a little side creek where you can see just really pretty water and tree views for the park.
Yeah, it's really interesting because you have a lot of tributaries of the Congaree River that kind of snake their way through the landscape. And because the entire national park is basically a floodplain, you'll find muddy puddles all over the place. And you'll find some sections that are wetter and some sections that are drier, depending on recent precipitation in different areas, this entire place can basically turn into a giant moving body of water. And so it's really interesting as you're on like the Fork Swamp Trail. That was, like you said, that was our first introduction to this. You can kind of see how certain areas that are only a foot or two higher in elevation than lower areas will have completely different plants than each other.
Yeah.
And so you'll find that there's really big cypress trees in the lower sections. And that was where we first got to see cypress tree knees.
Yeah.
Which were really fun.
Yeah.
And so it's just like these little, it's like parts of the tree. It's like branches of a tree that poke up and are
like
somehow
through the root system.
Yeah, it's like they're webbed with the main trunk of the tree.
Yeah.
I know, it's really
coming out of the water. Yeah. It's an environment that us from the West, like we're not used to at all. And I think that was part of the magic of it too for us, coming from the West and coming from a very dry environment. And we don't have trees like that. Like I remember one of the kayak guides mentioned the loblolly tree, and I was like, I have literally never heard of that. I have nothing in my brain has told me that exists. And so coming from somewhere totally different, coming into Congaree and seeing things like the cypress trees and the knees that come out through the water and the loblolly trees. And this trail is actually, we saw crayfish mounds, is that what they're called? Mounds? Crayfish holes? Nests?
I don't know, but they look like little chimneys of dirt.
Yeah, with a hole
mud
down the middle. And we saw them all over the Fork Swamp Trail, and all of us are like looking at them. We're trying to get close, but we're like, we don't know if there's a snake in there.
Something that jump out of there.
Yeah, so we weren't like getting too close, but it was something we weren't familiar with. And so that was fun because the kids too were just like, everywhere we look, we're like, wow, what's that? What's that, Mom? Why is it like that? You know, it was just like questions from all of us all around.
It's really like a foreign landscape to us. And so it's like you're being dropped in a brand new world.
Yeah, unless you're from that area. Then it probably feels like your backyard.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
For us, hiking the Fork Swamp Trail actually was really cool because it introduced us to a lot of new things that we hadn't seen. And Congaree doesn't have very many hiking trails.
Nope.
So this was actually one of my favorites. 1 out of 3. Just kidding. There's more than that, but there's not a lot more than that. So this one I really enjoyed. I would just say if you're going to hike this one, we really liked going counterclockwise and then turning around when it leaves the water. Because like John said, when the elevation gets a little bit higher, you get some different plants and stuff. It dries out a lot. And we were just like hiking through weeds the rest of the time.
Right.
So it wasn't very well maintained. The weeds were kind of taking over the second half of the loop. So I would hike counterclockwise, go down to the water. You can see all the cool cypress trees and stuff. And then just turn around and go back out the same way you came.
Right.
My recommendation, because it's not very fun to hike through weeds.
Right. Especially when some of them were waist high.
Yeah.
And you're concerned about creatures.
Yes. Which we are. So, and then the other thing kind of over on this side of the park is the Bates Ferry Trail and the trailhead parking there. So you can do that one. We actually started this one and then went and saw the General Green tree, which is in this area. It's the biggest.
It was so big.
It was really impressive, but the bridge was out, so we had to get creative, and the trail wasn't very well marked, and it felt like an adventure. So we made it, but just a beautiful area. You have water everywhere. You have all the beautiful cypress trees, a lot of peace and quiet. So that's the other thing that we did on this side of the park. The part that is closer to Columbia is the main area of the park, and this is the part by the Harry Hampton Visitor Center. You've got the boardwalk trail here. So there's a few things that you can do in this area.
One of my favorite things that was right there at the Harry Hampton Visitor Center, there's a sign that brings up something that we ought to talk about for a second. Time of year.
Yes.
There's a sign kind of above the bathrooms and the drinking fountain that it's basically like a gauge. And there's a bunch of different...
It's a mosquito meter.
That's
what it's called.
Yeah, it's a mosquito. Yeah, it's a mosquito meter, and the park rangers update it to help you know how much bug spray you should use, which is a lot.
You should always use bug spray. But it tells you how bad the mosquitoes are that particular time. So when we were there, luckily, our mosquito meter was at 1 or 2, which is the lowest settings. But the higher settings, I can't even imagine.
I think they had like war zone.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And not just the creatures and the bugs that you need to keep into account, like when you're trying to plan when to come to this park. It's also the water levels.
Right.
Make a huge difference. So not only there at the visitor center do you have the mosquito meter telling you what to expect bugs-wise, but you also have the main trail in the park that starts from right here, the boardwalk trail. There are times of year when you can't hike this trail because it's underwater.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is really high.
Yeah, they've got it pretty well elevated, but even still, because you're in this floodplain, the water levels fluctuate a lot. And so there are times when you can't hike trails in this park because of those water levels.
Right.
So that's another thing to keep in mind. We were there in the spring. It was like the end of March, and that seemed to be a really good time to be there. And I did my research beforehand to determine when I wanted to be there. And that's what I came up with.
Yeah.
That was my ideal time. You can do your own research to see kind of what you're hoping to do and what you're hoping to see. But for me, that was the perfect time. Low mosquitoes. The water levels were manageable enough we could hike pretty much everything. We could kayak, which we'll talk about here in a minute. So that was a really nice time to be there.
It was incredible. I can't imagine being there at a time where the mosquitoes were worse, because we had a few moments where the mosquitoes swarmed and it was kind of crazy. And so if they were worse all the time and at a war zone level, I could just imagine it being kind of unbearable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
definitely pay attention to that as you're planning your trip. We don't have experience going the other times of the year, but I will just say, based on my research, I chose March for a reason.
There may not be us visiting at a different time of year.
Oh, no. I doubt it.
Because a lot of other things come along with the swarming bugs.
But we had it perfectly. I mean, it really was perfect. We were able to hike the boardwalk trail right there from the visitor center. We had the kids do their junior ranger books as we did that, which was perfect because you can just kind of mosey through that trail and enjoy all the different things that you can see. And they have plaques that tell you about what you're seeing. They also have like little guidebooks that you can hike with that tell you more information about things that you'll pass.
It was great.
So it's a really nice trail, and it's good for pretty much everybody. It's about 2.5 miles if you do the whole loop, but you don't even need to do the whole loop if you don't want to. You can just start it for a minute. But we saw some snakes from the boardwalk that we watched for a little while. You've got the cypress trees with the knees that they'll point out. We saw the crayfish holes. We never determined
chimneys.
Yeah.
But this was a great place for us to pull out our Merlin app.
Yeah.
And to listen for lots of birds, because there were so many.
Can we just say, we have clearly reached middle age where we are so excited about listening to birds.
We are.
And we love the Merlin app. It's so cool. And our kids love it. Honestly, our kids love it, which is cool because they like to be able to record the bird sounds and see what it is.
Yeah.
It's really cool, and it's free.
It is.
So if you want to get into birding, if you want to, really solidify that middle age or older, part of you.
And I love cargo pants and cargo shorts, which is also a sign of middle age because I need more pockets.
Yep.
Yes.
So many pockets. So anyway, but yeah, we love the Merlin app in this park. That was really cool because I don't think you realize that the forest is so loud.
It's alive.
There's so many different types of birds and creatures and stuff just, chattering away.
If you've ever seen Star Wars, and so episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, when Luke Skywalker goes in search of Master Yoda to be trained in the Jedi arts, the planet that Yoda lives on, Dagobah, the Dagobah system, is Congaree National Park.
Yeah.
It's just got everything is alive, everything is moving.
Where like his airplane.
His
Oh my gosh, yes. I know, I was going to fix it. His X-Wing like lands in the water and just sinks.
Uh-huh.
It's like, oh yeah, that's definitely Congaree.
It's so true. And that's where the great epic line, "Do or do not, there is no try," comes from as he uses the force to lift the X-Wing out of the swamp.
Yep. Congaree.
And the swamp is Congaree National Park.
It is. It looked so close to that in the movie. Yeah, so the boardwalk trail is the main thing you're going to do here. I was actually really pleasantly surprised by like the whole visitor center, picnic area, boardwalk trail. It was really nice.
Yeah, that was the complex.
And it got busy. The parking filled.
Which is surprising.
Yeah, and it is a very big parking lot. So people are coming. People are discovering this place.
Yeah.
But most of them are right here.
Mm-hmm.
So keep that in mind too.
Yeah, this is the spot where everybody's going to get normally their first experience and where they come back to again and again.
Yeah. So off the boardwalk trail, there's a couple of other trails. They're dirt trails that are not on the boardwalk that you can do. So there's a little trail system here. We went out to the Weston Lake overlook. I will say lakes here are not like lakes that we're used to at home.
Right.
It looked like a pond. I think all of us kind of got there and we're like, okay.
No way I'm putting my foot in that pond.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me personally, I would probably just stick to the boardwalk. I think that you get really like those quintessential Congaree views from the boardwalk. But if you're really dying to get some more hiking miles under your belt or whatever, like there's a couple other trails you can do from there.
Right. Like we also did Wise Lake.
Yeah.
It was slightly bigger than Weston Lake, and it took you through the wilderness a little bit more too on an actual hiking trail. But that trail disappears when the water level rises.
Yeah.
And so depending on the time of year, some of these trails may or may not be accessible, and all you'll have is the boardwalk. But if you're there at the right time of year, it's fun to walk through a slightly dried out swamp.
And you leave the crowds too. Mm-hmm. So if you're wanting more solitude, leaving the boardwalk trail and hitting some of these other trails off to the side of it is a really good option.
Yeah, which is why I'm glad we talked about like the stuff on the east side of the park too. Because if everybody that visits Congaree National Park only goes to the boardwalk and basically calls it good, you can have Congaree National Park to yourself almost by simply leaving the boardwalk.
Yeah.
And going on any of these other trails.
Isn't that true of most parks? I mean, it really is. It's like you want to see the can't miss stuff, but then you need to add in some of these smaller things just so that you can breathe.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
And see the park and experience the park and feel the park in a different way.
Right.
So yeah, that's what these other trails are really nice for. There's another trail right here, the Firefly Trail. And this one really is only worth taking when it's time for the Synchronous fireflies to come out. So
exactly.
This is where it's at. But what a lot of people don't know is that Congaree does have Synchronous fireflies. A lot of people are more familiar with the ones at Great Smokies because it's a huge production and it's like a huge thing at the Smokies every June. to go see those. Congaree has one too,
which is so cool.
that a lot of people don't know about. Unfortunately, it has gotten a lot busier lately, so they have a lottery system similar to what you have to do at Great Smokies. So it is a little bit hard to get tickets for that. But just know if you're looking for somewhere else to do that, because we went and saw the synchronous fireflies in the Smokies.
And it was amazing.
Last year, it was one of my top 5 favorite national park experiences of all time.
Yeah. And if you could see them here at Congaree, it would be like experiencing the Princess and the Frog in real life.
Yeah.
Because you're like basically in the bayou and you're seeing that little firefly that's in love with the moon, basically.
Yeah. The Smokies didn't feel like that because it's in a forest, not a wetland,
Exactly.
Not a floodplain. So yeah, Congaree is also somewhere where you can go and see these synchronous fireflies, and they are so impressive. I mean, it's almost hard to describe how amazing it is. Well, it is hard. I can't put it into words how amazing it is to see this. But basically, these synchronous fireflies, they're a species of firefly. There's a whole bunch of different species, but this one, they blink on and off together. So it's crazy.
The whole landscape turns on and off.
Yeah. And this one actually is usually a few weeks before the one in the Smokies.
Ooh.
So they can kind of guess when the best time is going to be to see these. And so the one in Congaree typically is sometime in May versus Smokies is beginning of June. So
if you're lucky enough to get both in the lottery, then you don't have to choose.
Yep.
You can go on a tour of synchronous fireflies.
I know. Who would be lucky enough to get both? I've been lucky enough to get neither.
Yeah.
So we bypassed the system at the Smokies using a very cool trick that we talked about in that episode. Which one was it? It was our favorite experiences in 2024 episode. It was at the end of 2024. We'll link it in the show notes if you want to go listen. But anyway, super cool. So that's another thing that happens here in this main area of Congaree.
Your brothers would be lucky enough to get both of those.
I know. They saw Steamboat Geyser in Yellowstone.
That's what I was about to say.
After we've been to Yellowstone 50 bajillion times, and we always hang out by Steamboat for a minute just in the off chance that it's going to explode while we're there. And it never has. And they're there one time.
Yep. And it just so
happened to be erupting.
So yes,
so mad.
Your brothers are lucky enough to get that.
I don't have luck with lottery systems.
And if you're listening, I'm holding it against you. That's why your Christmas presents sucked last year.
Oh my gosh. So that's Congaree minus one very important thing.
That's Congaree on the ground with your feet.
Yep. And you can do all of that in a day. You really don't need more time than that. So, spend the day there and then add a second day.
Because the second day is what is going to blow your socks off.
Right.
Because that's what it did for me.
Yeah.
And the blowing your socks off day is all about getting on the water.
Yeah. So Congaree, as John mentioned, has a whole bunch of creeks going through it where this water is just moving through this area like crazy. So it all branches off from the main river, or leads to the main river. And one of these creeks, it's called Cedar Creek.
Mm-hmm.
And Cedar Creek in Congaree is the creek to be on. If you want to canoe or kayak, it's the main creek to do this on.
Right.
And in fact, they actually have a set route. Anyway, they have a lot of information about it if you want to do it yourself.
Yeah, it's a specific canoeing trail that you can take that they kind of sort of maintain.
And they try to maintain it. The problems you'll run into on it are as the water levels go up and down, and as trees fall and storms come through and floods come through, it is going to cause things to block your way as you're going through this. And as the water levels rise, it's going to be a lot harder to find your way through the trees because it's not going to look like a nice little creek, a nice little waterway.
Yeah.
And as the water levels lower, there's going to be parts where you can't paddle without getting stuck and you'll have to portage. And
Right.
I don't want to portage. That does not sound fun to me. I also don't want to get lost in the trees because I can't tell where the creek actually is.
Yep.
This is also the part that we had heard about is a little bit off-putting because I read a review once that said that while they were kayaking Cedar Creek, like they had like spiders falling from the trees.
Or snakes falling
and
from the
snakes
trees.
falling from the trees like into their kayak.
Which was like, no.
It was like a HE double hockey sticks no for me. Absolutely not. So we knew coming to Congaree that we needed to kayak Cedar Creek because that's one of the main things to do. It's a big part of what you do at this park. And we also knew that we were not going to try to attempt it by ourselves.
Right.
I did not feel comfortable with that. I don't have the skills for that, even though we kayak a lot. And in fact, when I worked as a ranger in Glacier Bay, I had to do full sea kayaking courses.
Right.
And get certified. And we were in the ocean where it was freezing. And, so I feel like I have quite a bit of experience in a kayak, but not very much experience in these conditions.
Because had something gone wrong and we were stranded in Dagobah, I have tried to use the Force legitimately. And and I have thus far not been able to move any objects with my mind, which would be important if we got stranded in Cedar Creek somewhere or in the Congaree wilderness.
Yeah.
And there's no Yoda coming to help us. And so we decided that it would be important for us to make sure that we had a guide that could take care of us.
So there's a couple different companies that will run guided tours of Cedar Creek. We ended up with Carolina Adventures, and they were awesome. I would absolutely recommend going with them. I don't have experience with the other ones, but I had zero complaints about them. And what I liked about them actually is a lot of times when you get on guided tours, you kind of have like we went on a guided kayak of the Smith River up in Redwood. And the guide was in the front and we were in the back. So he would navigate the rapid up there and show people how to do it. But by the time I got to it, I didn't know where to go.
The game of telephone in the kayak did not get translated all the way to the back of the line.
It was very traumatic for me. I did run into a couple of cliffs, a couple of rocks, a couple of trees, because I didn't know how to navigate through the current of the river. So
I made it.
Yeah, John was fine. It was just me.
Apparently, I was the problem because I was not passing the message along.
Okay, so I was worried about that on this one, too, because I'm like, okay, I typically on tours like this like to be in the back because I don't like everyone to watch me from the front. I don't know. I have a little anxiety there.
I like watching you from the back.
Shut up. Oh my gosh. So anyway, I hang in the back. But what was great about Carolina Adventures is they had multiple guides for the group. And so those of us that were in the back still had a guide with us, still pointing things out and sharing things and talking about things. And then there was another guide further up. Actually, they had 3 guides. Yeah. There was 3 guides and maybe 12 kayaks?
It was amazing.
It was amazing.
The guidee to guide ratio was pretty incredible.
Yeah, it was. So I felt like I got to see everything and hear everything. They were watching out for me. They were paying attention to me. So I didn't feel nervous during the paddle. And when we were there, the water levels were really good. I'd been watching the water levels to make sure it would be something I was comfortable with. But I would not have wanted to be on there without a guide with my limited experience in the area.
Right.
So I was just really grateful. They did an awesome job. But how magical was it to be kayaking on Cedar Creek through the cypress trees and through the loblolly trees. And
it was amazing.
it was amazing.
It was really cool. And, like you said, they gave us lots of context for what we were seeing, but it was so different from being on a somewhat muddy trail sometimes. We love hiking. That's how we like to see the national parks. But sometimes these unique experiences that define a national park, kind of like Congaree, are really something that you ought to take advantage of. And this for sure was that for us. Getting on the water in Congaree National Park is the best way to explore Congaree, because you're weaving in and out of these cypress trees and their knees, and you're kind of weaving your way through the wilderness, unsure of what's coming next, because the forest can be so thick in different places. And sometimes it's thinner so you can see deeper into the wilderness, and that's really cool too. But the guides take you on little side adventures sometimes, to explore a slough or something like that.
Yeah, we went into one and we were in 3 inches of water.
That's what it felt like, for sure.
Yeah, it was really shallow, but the trees were really close to us. We were weaving through the trees, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was so cool. We got stuck a little bit, but the guides were there to just be like, hey, you gotta, you gotta build up some speed going up over this spot or whatever so that you can get over. And anyway, I wouldn't have had the confidence to go through myself, but because we had the guides who knew the area so well, and they guide it in all sorts of conditions, and they're out there, they were telling us stories about being out there in the high water.
Yeah.
And just being able to go wherever, and they have the confidence that they can find their way back.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I was able to relax. Our son, I was in a double kayak with him, and he got to build his confidence.
The water didn't move that fast.
Yeah, so it wasn't scary or anything, but I was glad we were with a guide. We learned so much. And then probably the other really cool thing about having a guide is they knew where to look for the wildlife. We saw a lot of snakes.
Well, so yeah, what's amazing. Okay, so 3/4 of the way through this kayaking excursion, I was like, oh, I got this. I felt so confident. I was like, this landscape I could totally manage.
Oh, really? I didn't feel that way at any point.
It took 3/4 of the way
You're
through.
a lot more confident yeah.
I built up that confidence, but then it was stripped away really quickly about 3/4 of the way through. And because at the beginning, they kind of point out, oh, you kind of see how that branch is sticking out into the water. If you slow down and look, you can notice that's where the snakes usually sun themselves.
There's a snake on top of it that looks like a branch.
And so eventually you kind of can get some snake eyes. You recognize that's probably where one's going to be. And so you can kind of paddle over and stay a safe distance away from a bush or something like that and see, oh, yes, that snake is on that branch. And you're like, yes, I got this. I can figure this landscape out. And then 3/4 of the way through, as we were making our way back, I had not seen a spider yet.
Yeah, we weren't there during the really bad spider time. Thank goodness.
And so then the gentleman that was guiding in front, he pulled me and my son over to this tree. And he's like, come over here. Come look at this lizard that I found. And he points over to a lizard, and it's pretty good sized little guy, 8 to 10 inches long. He was kind of doing his little dance, it was a great little lizard. But then after he had convinced me to come over because of a lizard, then he had me trapped. And he says, by the way, you see that hole right there? And then he lifted his paddle slightly, and then the hole moved, and I realized what I was looking at. And I was looking at a spider hole. And the spider was larger than my hand. And I was like, oh my gosh. But he already basically had me there, and he had his hand on my kayak, and I couldn't get away. And so,
which is good, because John would have panicked
fallen
into the water.
Listen, I've brought up Star Wars already, but I learned a lesson from episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. If you have the high ground, then you're the automatic victor. And the spider had the high ground. Okay. And I was like directly under this tree. The spider was larger than my hand. And then he goes on to continue to tell me how, by the way, these spiders, they catch fish. And sometimes they catch birds and bats. And I'm like, they're eating mammals? I'm a mammal. And so I was like, suddenly I felt, affronted by this spider because it was eating things related to me. And I didn't want to be in that club. And so I was like trying to back out, but he was just having so much fun describing the large things that this spider can take down.
Oh my
and
gosh.
It was very uncomfortable. And so that's when I realized that my confidence in the area was ill-conceived or ill-begotten confidence, because that was the first spider I saw. And then I started to see them other places. So they are there, but if you go at the right time of year, they're not very active.
Yeah.
And so
Gosh.
that was an experience for me. I'm really good with the snakes, but the spiders have the high ground.
Yeah. We saw a bunch of snakes. My son was thrilled because we saw a water moccasin, which is not what I was hoping to see.
Having seen Lonesome Dove multiple times.
I have so many nightmares from the scene in Lonesome Dove with the water moccasins. I was like, oh no, nope, get me out of here.
Right.
But our son was just like, that was the best thing ever.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. If you don't know, that water moccasins also go by cottonmouth. And so in case you need to know the names for that poisonous snake.
You don't have to watch very far into Lonesome Dove to see that.
It's the end of the first episode.
It's the end of the first one. Yeah. So if you don't know what we're talking about, you can go watch that and freak yourself out before you go to Congaree.
But I love how we built up people can be comfortable here. And now we're just like, and by the way, this is real.
I know, but that was by far my favorite thing we did in Congaree.
And that's why we went with a guide, though, as well, so that you can experience some of these things a little bit at arm's length with someone who is very comfortable.
Yeah.
And knowledgeable.
Yeah.
So that you can be in a landscape where there's spiders that eat mammals and there's snakes that are poisonous and, rest on trees above you, and you get to navigate through the landscape with a guiding hand.
Yes. Yes. And with little to no experience.
Right.
I mean, they really did make it easy. So that was 1,000% my favorite thing we did in Congaree. When we go back to Congaree, we will do that again.
Right.
Because it was so memorable and all of us loved it. And we were there with my family. And so it was like all ages of people, and all of us were just like, that was one of the coolest things that we could have done. So absolutely make time to either canoe or kayak Cedar Creek. And if you don't feel comfortable doing it by yourself, get a guide, because they are locals and they know the area really well. And just another plug for Carolina Adventures. They were awesome. I would 1,000% go with them again, too.
Yeah.
After that, I mean, the only other thing we really did in the park, and I mean, we covered pretty much all of it minus some backpacking and camping, which you have to draw the line somewhere. So that's where my line was drawn.
Exactly.
But right where you actually put in for Cedar Creek, there's another trail there called the King Snake Trail. Mm-hmm. And this trail is really popular for birding. That's kind of the big thing that people go on the King Snake Trail for. So that was really fun, too, with our Merlin app.
We heard some of the craziest sounding birds on that trail that were way above you, so you didn't necessarily get a good look at them. But their song, if you can call it that, was wild.
Yeah.
And that's the trail where I found my best spider stick ever.
Yep.
It was amazing. It was like 10 to 12 feet long, super light, and easy to swish around.
If you don't know what a spider stick is, I feel like we should explain this. But we pretty much always hike with a spider stick, and it's just a stick that we wave around on the trail in front of us when we're the first ones going through so that we get all the spider webs down.
Exactly.
All the spiders off. And so they're not hitting you in the face.
Yes.
We have a stick that catches them all. So John was extremely proud of his spider stick.
Oh, it was the best of all of the souvenirs I wish I could take from a national park that I don't.
A 10-foot long.
Exactly.
It was basically like a reed. I don't know. It was like hollow in the middle.
Yeah.
He was so happy.
It was amazing. It was so flexible and light. The Harry Potter swish and flick, for the Wingardium Leviosa. There were no spider webs on me that entire trail.
This was also the trail where we actually did have something fall on us from the trees. So that review that I read was not totally off.
No.
It was a fairly windy day as we were hiking this trail, and the trees were moving pretty good. And we're hiking back to our car, and a big gust of wind comes, and then just like a plop. And we heard it, and it like whizzed by our faces. Luckily, it did not land on us.
No.
I think I would have lost it if something landed on me. But anyway, so then we looked around on the ground right by our feet, and there was a frog that had fallen off the trees and just like plummeted down to the ground and almost landed on our heads.
It was so crazy. And it was like the last thing we did in the park.
Yeah.
And so it was so funny that the whole time we've been worried about it. And like, it's just like how the confidence.
Yeah.
The confidence, 3/4 of the way through the kayaking trip, my confidence was stripped away. At the last hike of this entire trip, our confidence was stripped away.
It's like, oh my gosh, things do fall from the trees here. I don't know how I feel about that.
Oh, man. Luckily, it was just a frog.
It was a frog, and he was still alive.
Yep.
Just to put your minds at ease. But also, our kids thought that was super cool.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the kids came out of Congaree just like, that was the biggest, coolest adventure ever.
Yeah.
And John and I are thinking, yes.
We survived it.
It was a few things that happened a little too close for comfort.
Yeah.
But it was fine. It was all in a managed environment. We got out of there. We have stories to tell. We loved the park.
Yeah, exactly. The lesson we learned is things probably don't fall as much unless it is windy.
Yeah,
so
don't hike in the wind. Don't kayak in the wind.
Yes, go on a non-windy day, and most of the creatures will be able to keep their footing on the branches above you.
Yeah, but I seriously, I really was shocked at how much I loved Congaree.
Yeah.
Especially, you might be listening to this episode going, I'm not sure if you convinced me to go. And it's okay if you feel that way still. But don't write it off.
Yeah.
Don't take it off your list. There is so much magic to be had in this park, even if you feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the best things about exploring nature is getting a little bit uncomfortable, doing something that's not the norm.
Yeah.
Because those are the things that you remember, and those are the things that make you better humans.
Right.
So
Exactly.
we're so glad we went. We absolutely loved it.
We will definitely be going back.
Yeah, we will.
The kids, that was one of their proudest junior ranger moments.
Yeah.
I can't believe I got a junior ranger badge at Congaree.
Yep.
A place like Dagobah where the life signs are off the charts.
So again, be sure to listen to the Fun Facts episode, because just a little teaser here of what makes Congaree so cool besides the things you can do is that this is the largest intact expanse of old growth bottomland hardwood forest remaining. It's one of the only ones remaining. So you've got this really special forest that needs to be protected. And then there's a lot of really cool things that happen with the floodplain in this area that make it as it is, as what you see. A lot of that has to do with the floodplain. So you've got the old hardwood forest, you've got the floodplain, you've got all the creatures. I'm sure there's some interesting human history tucked up in there
Tons
somewhere.
of it. There is a lot. But like you mentioned, the type of landscape here, it's basically the last of its kind.
Yeah.
It's the largest and the last of its kind in the country. And so it's such a unique experience that you can have here. And it's an amazing place. And so you should definitely not, like you said, don't write it off. We've told a few eerie stories, but this place will blow you away and you will have fun. And guess what? You'll come back with a cool story or two.
Yeah. So your task for today, go over to the Dirt in My Shoes Facebook or Instagram page. We'll have a post there about Congaree and about our episode today. Let us know, are you the most excited to see the spiders or the snakes?
Ooh.
And if you've been to Congaree and have any stories, extra points.
I really like the way you framed that. I could have gone a different direction. I really like the way you framed that. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please give the Exploring the National Parks podcast a 5-star review. You're the best. We can't wait to hear from you. And please go get some dirt in your shoes.